She doesn't get that it's always worse the second time around.
Comedy is tough. Making a legendary comedy movie is near impossible. So it's no surprise that when a team of people actually pull it off, there is an impulse to do it all again. Sequel does not equal worse by default, especially when we're dealing with crime thrillers or horror movies. Sequels and franchises are usually dismissed as mere cash grabs. Even James Cameron famously pitched the sequel to Alien by writing the word aliens on a chalkboard and then simply turned the S into a $sign. That was all it took, but that doesn't therefore mean that the movie was not worth making. A benefit to sequels is that the actors, writers, and directors of the first movie all get paid their worth the second time around. But when it comes to comedy, more often than not, the sequel just fails to recapture the magic of the original. Typically, if there is a great quote or scene from a franchise, it's from the original, not the sequel. So why is it that sequels made by and with the same creative team end up bland, forgettable, or sometimes even unwatchable? Let's figure it out. The first reason is that producers just decide that they're going to do it again. They're very aware that they struck oil the first time, so why mess with a perfect formula? Copy-paste the same premise and story beats with a more expensive backdrop and we've got ourselves another hit. Usually these sequels slide into production as soon as possible, so that the team are still close to the magic that inspired the original. Let's take The Hangover 2 for example. The premise to the first movie was, after a bachelor party in Vegas, 3 friends wake up hungover with no memory of the night before, so must retrace their steps to find a missing party member before the wedding. It's a solid premise for a fun comedy and led to huge success. So when the sequel came rolling around, they just said, let's take that premise and simply take out the word Vegas for Bangkok. The movie then follows almost identical story beats as well. It starts with a cold open of Phil on the phone explaining that they screwed up and lost a party member. We then go back, get the gang together, clink glasses, then wake up hungover with no memory of the night before. The room is destroyed, and Stu has some sort of physical deformation that cannot be easily repaired. They're also burdened with the responsibility of a cute, small creature. They then retrace their steps. Chow makes a nude appearance at some point or another, Stu finds out he cheated on his partner, Stu sings a song, it all looks hopeless, and then suddenly someone makes a vague connection in their mind and magically figures out where the missing person is. It's then a race against the clock to the wedding, and we finally get to see the photos of the crazy night out. But by repeating the exact same premise and story beats, the jokes become predictable, and the audience is expected to just laugh at the idea that, oh my, what are the odds of this happening to these guys again? That's crazy. But not all sequels are made right after the original gets released. For a lot of hit comedies, they gradually gain a cult following, and it takes them 10 or more years to go back to do a sequel. They're then tasked with the burden of bridging the gap between the original and the sequel. This can involve throwing way too much information at you all at once, like in Zoolander 2, where they basically suggest everything we thought happened at the end of the first movie totally changed just days later.
Literally collapsed into the East River, only 2 days after its official opening.
Or they have to gradually get the gang back together, as the protagonist tediously goes from character to character, catching up with what they've been up to, and getting them roped into the plot. This slows the story down, and leads to a lot of dull exposition.
On the way out the door, I fake a work injury. With the settlement, I bought this place.
Well, I'm glad to see you landed on your feet, champ.
The next reason is, it's just too late. The time between the two movies shows. The original was made in a totally different world, and in the case of Dumb and Dumber 2, the style of humor now feels out of place.
Bush Club!
Unlike other comedy sequels where they try to bridge the gap and fill you with information, they elected to just pretend nothing happened at all in 20 years. Lloyd just sat still in a mental institution while pretending to be paralyzed with depression. Or Derek Zoolander lost his wife and just went to hide in solitude for 15 years with no contact with the outside world. so the characters now look older, but have not matured in any way, creating this weird feeling of watching 1994 or 2001's questionable comedy stylings in the modern world. The actors appear to have lost touch with whatever inspired the character in the original, as unlike the characters in the script, they have grown and changed in the last 20 years. The next reason is giving you too much of what you want, but not enough of what you need. Whether the sequel is made immediately after the original's release or many years later, the producers have had a lot of time to take note of what you liked about the original. It could be certain scenes that have been elevated to cult status or specific types of quotes. And this allows them to whittle down what jokes the audiences actually wanted and ones they didn't. So now, they're only going to give you that same brand of joke over and over. It could be Ron Burgundy giving random improvised reactions.
The hymen of Olivia Newton-John.
Tony Danza's scrotum.
Zoolander not knowing the meaning to common words.
You're like a walking Tyrannosaurus.
I mean walking thesaurus.
Or going for orange mocha frappuccinos, listening to Wake Me Up Before You Go-Go. Or Hansel has orgies. They know what you liked about the first one, and now they're going to double or triple up on the amount of those jokes. Because repeating the same joke over and over makes it funnier every time, right? Right? And based on that assumption, you're in for a treat, as they're also going to give you a much longer running time. So you're getting the same joke you loved over and over and over and over and over for even longer until you become fatigued. And now you have to watch that once beloved joke just breeze by you without even a smirk because it hasn't been earned by either a compelling story or the element of surprise. The next reason is bigger budget equals bigger laughs. The original was a smash hit, so they have full faith that this movie will be a success. With that in mind, everything is getting an upgrade. More expensive camera movements, extravagant stunts, turn that saturation up too. We want this movie to look as funny as it is. Bigger set pieces, slime, more characters. Ron Burgundy is blind for 20 minutes. Who cares? Just go crazy. Put these iconic characters in wacky situations. The audience is guaranteed to love that. We can also afford more celebrities to cameo too, as they loved the original. Pack as many in who are willing to show up. Now I'm fully aware that Zoolander 1 had lots of cameos too, but the original was a parody of modeling and fame. There was a degree of novelty and surprise for the audience, and the celebrities always served some sort of function or at least created a joke. In Zoolander 2, the movie is almost exclusively packed with celebrity appearances for no reason. They even had Fred Armisen as a CGI 11-year-old for 2 pointless scenes that contributed nothing to the plot. It feels like a movie for celebrities to enjoy, as opposed to a joke about celebrities for the audience to enjoy. For example, this bewildering scene.
Hey, Katie. Yeah, it's like, when will we find out who we really are?
Who am I?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Now, had there been a joke in there, it could maybe have worked. But instead, the celebrity being there is the joke.
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch.
Woo!
So it just feels awkward, unnecessary, empty. And the final reason comedy sequels fail to recapture the magic is, let's just stand around and improvise. Improv is a big part of comedy, especially nowadays. But the original movies had to fight for your attention and win you over. There was a story that glided along with solid pacing and structure, and the jokes were these wonderful surprises baked into that. But in comedy sequels, now that the actors are 100% confident that they know how to nail this character that they loved playing all those years ago, they want to empty the tank and give the audience every last drop of their character's potential. So the movie creates scene after scene of them either standing or sitting, just riffing at each other with no real purpose. It's as if the story has stopped and now we're just watching the actors rehearse behind the scenes, just waiting to get back to the real story.
Okay, so obviously this is a waste of time. I'm done.
Like I said, comedy is tough, and making a legendary comedy movie is near impossible. So there is no one to blame here really, but this is merely an examination in what tends not to work when they try to recapture the magic. When they were making the original, they had no idea that it would be a success, so they just tried to make a good movie. And the audience also had no idea what to expect from the characters or story either, and just happened to be pleasantly surprised. But sequels are often about trying to play to an audience's expectations, rather than serving them something new. The creators usually have no real idea of why the original worked so well. It wasn't an accident, but some magic just happened to slip in there. But a comedy sequel is like trying to retell a funny joke that you came up with when you were drunk, years later. Now that you're sober and in a totally different context, you're not just flowing in the moment. So as much as you might get some details right, the original inspiration is long gone, and the jokes fall flat. And you're left just having to shrug and say, I guess you had to be there. Well, you've made it this far, so you might as well like, subscribe, and comment to help get this channel to the next level.